Hello and welcome to the African Tech Roundup. This is episode 26 for the week ending Monday, 12 October 2015. Now, as always, we'll be rounding up the week's most important technology, digital, and innovation news from across the African continent. My name is Andile Masugo, and with me, as always, is my co-host on the show, Tech4Africa. How's it, dude?
I'm good, and you back? How was it?
It was restful, relaxed, the weather was amazing. Back in this heat wave, though.
That's crazy hot, man.
You were busy this week, I have to say, checking out your moves there on social. Tech4Africa?
Yeah, it was quite good to speak at Tech4Africa and share about the work we did with Report Xenophobia, and it was well received.
Good stuff. Well, listen, if you're joining us for the first time, it's about time. Now, head over to africantechroundup.com and catch up on what you've been missing. While you're there, by the way, sign up for our weekly newsletter and get the podcast sent straight to your inbox every Monday.
And of course, you can also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @African Roundup. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/African Tech Roundup. And check out some of our photos on Instagram at instagram.com/African Roundup. Give us a shout and let us know what's up.
And a little later on in this week's discussion, we'll be unpacking an interesting talk that you encountered at Tech4Africa.
Yeah, definitely a talk by Nick Harambulos, or Nick Harry as he's popularly known, giving some very valuable startup advice, but we'll unpack that later.
Yes, indeed. First, in our sponsor slot this week, we thought it might be a good idea to let y'all in on some of the cool stuff the team here at the African Tech Roundup has coming up over the next few weeks and months. Well, let's start with you, therefore. You've been busy this week, and you clearly will be busy for a while still. You'll be speaking and facilitating a discussion at the Thabo Mbeki African Leadership Institute soon, yes?
Yeah, on the 16th and 17th of October. This is an inaugural alumni leadership conference, so it's quite an honor.
And you get to have dinner with Thabo Mbeki himself.
Hey, I'll be like a groupie.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Well, listen, that's not all, folks. Our content producer, the enigma that is Peter Bile, he's heading off to Dubai later this month for GITEX Technology Week 2015.
He'll be bringing us extensive coverage of one of the largest, if not the largest, ICT conference in the Middle East and Africa. We hope to get some great news coming out of there.
Then, of course, I'm speaking at the US Embassy in Harare's Food for Thought series on Tuesday, November 10th. And I'll be presenting on the topic, living and working at the intersection of broadcasting and entrepreneurship. I'm really looking forward to that.
That sounds great, but I'm more looking forward to what our technical producer, the very talented Brian Lupia, will be doing towards the end of November.
Yes, Doug. Listen, y'all might not know this. Some of you do, certainly, because Brian's got skills that have been witnessed by many. Brian is a hugely talented music producer. He's Korg endorsed, Korg, of course, being one of the world's premier keyboard brands, and he's an incredible vocalist who goes by the stage name Music Kid.
Crazy name, you know, these millennials.
These millennials, man. These millennials. Listen, though, a night with Music Kid is what Brian's got planned, and it's the John Legend edition at Trump's Grill House on Nelson Mandela Square on the evening of Saturday, the 28th of November. It's one not to miss. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there.
And I'm not going to even take personally that you said you'd look forward to that more than you would my talk, but that's fine.
Come on.
I won't be sensitive. I won't be sensitive like that. The second last thing, of course, a brand new season of the African Tech Conversation series will be out in November. The first Wednesday in November, which I believe will be November the 4th. Can't wait. 5 amazing interviews with innovators from our very own African ecosystem.
And yeah, you all should definitely tune in.
And of course, finally, there's something in the works that hasn't quite come together completely, but we have planned a live event, a roundup of sorts, and we can't say much about it right now, but we're really excited about that. That should also be happening around about the end of November. We'll keep you posted right here.
You'll get to hang out with us live, but with other more intelligent people than ourselves.
We'll definitely keep you abreast of developments as and when. Now, before we get into today's news, take a listen to this audio comment from one of our Kenyan listeners.
I'm Kevin Kamau from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm an IT consultant and I specialize in unified communications. I also observe and comment how technology is impacting various industries here in Kenya, in Africa and beyond. I want to highlight a few things on the state of Uber in Nairobi. So first of all, I want to say that since Uber introduced the use of M-Pesa and cash payments, the adoption rate has really increased since primarily most Kenyans don't have credit cards, so it was hard for them to pay. Like I remember the early days of Uber, I'd recommend it to people, share my voucher code with them so that they get their first riders free. But most of them would call me back and say, hey Kevin, thank you for this app you've recommended to me, but I can't use it since I don't have credit card information and it requires me to enter that. So yeah, credit card was quite a bottleneck for most Kenyans. Secondly is Ubers are quite cheaper than the local taxis, so this drives adoption rate, as most guys can once you start using an Uber, like, you can never go back. Then their cars are quite newish and they pass through all the rigorous tests for the public service vehicle. We call it PSV here. Then again, their drivers are quite decent. You can hold steady conversations with them and they are helpful more than the traditional drivers. Lastly is the fact that Uber makes direct payments as tax to the government's revenue authority. So this makes it have goodwill and the support of the government, as the government has an easy and convenient way of collecting taxes, which traditionally wouldn't be possible in the local taxis.
Now, if you'd like us to include your audio comment on any of the topics we've covered previously in any of our podcasts, you can email us using hello@africantechroundup.com, or give us a shout on facebook.com/africantechroundup, or hit us up on Twitter using the handle @africanroundup, or you can also just go on by commenting on our website, africantechroundup.com. We'll get right back to you. Now, let's get straight to the news.
First up, an update on the Altec Node video-on-demand device, which South African tech firm Altron has recently pulled the plug on. Now, this past week, Altron disclosed that in the 6 months ending August 2015, the Altec Node brought in an estimated $75,500 in revenue, which doesn't sound bad until you hear what it is they lost. They reported negative earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization of over $5.6 million.
Come on, own up, guys. Who bought this thing?
I don't think they did. I think they tried to sell it and eventually just decided to wind it down.
But who bought the devices? Who fell for this thing?
You're wondering who actually bought this device to start with?
Yeah, because a business, I don't think anybody would buy the business, but who bought the device?
Well, good news for whoever did, because if you did and subscribed to the service, you should get back from Altec or from Altron 1,999 Rand. Well, next, what would the show be without internet news? I mean, Facebook news. Isn't that the same thing, kind of?
Internet.org, free basics, free internet, Facebook, all interchangeable.
Well, anyway, New York Stock Exchange listed high-tech communications firm Eutelsat is partnering with Facebook to use the entire broadband payload on Spacecom's future Amos 6 satellite to build a dedicated system comprising satellite capacity, gateways, and terminals. Ooh, sounds very fancy.
Yes, and they say that they're looking to launch this in the second half of 2016 and looking to cover large parts of West, East, and Southern Africa. But more interesting is that it's optimized, or the capacity on the K-band payload of the Amos 6 geostationary satellite is optimized for community and direct-to-user internet access.
Now, Eutelsat and Facebook have agreed to share capacity, but will be using that capacity for different reasons.
Facebook is looking to use the capacity more for their free basics, formerly known as Internet.org platform, where areas Eutelsat is probably going to use this for commercial reasons.
As it turns out, Eutelsat is establishing a new company based in London that will basically steer its African broadband business.
On the Facebook side, I mean, this is a better proposition, I think, than the balloons and drones that they were talking about, because we're talking satellites and they can already put this up and have capacity immediately, where areas with the drones and balloons, it would probably take some time.
Certainly technologies that have been tried and tested as opposed to experimental things. We still don't quite know how well they work. Well, to Zimbabwe now, where the country's largest mobile network operator, Econet, is continuing its legal bid to overturn a directive by the Zimbabwean telecommunications regulator. Basically, this directive was set up to lower voice tariffs for mobile companies.
Yes, and that's good for customers, because that means customers pay less. But what I don't understand is Econet arguing and saying that the lowering of tariffs has made their business much more unsustainable, because it's led to them having to retrench workers. You can't blame policymakers for you not having enough clients, or how does this work?
Well, the Posts and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, POTRAZ, continues to maintain that disruptors like WhatsApp, Viber, and Facebook are probably more likely responsible for any revenue loss, if any. Econet has chosen to ride on this, and they have an ongoing program to retrench a reported 100 workers who, by the way, are being offered shares in Econet as part of the severance if they walk away without making a squeak.
I still don't get how this works. So I can't afford to keep you, but I can afford to give you my shares. So how much are those shares worth again?
I'm not sure. Well, they're at least calculated in US dollars, so stop laughing like that.
All I have in my mind is that 100 million trillion.
Oh, stop it. Moving right along. Staying with Econet, though, a recent blog. My Zim people are coming for you, bro. Anyway, so we're staying with Econet. Staying with Econet, a recent blog post from Econet's vocal chairman, Strive Masiwa, is making waves in the Nigerian mobile network community. This guy has certainly made a splash this week.
Again, it's similar to the previous story where Econet is accusing POTRAZ of making policies that are making their business unsustainable. In this case, the gist of what I get or from Mr. Masiwa's blog post is that they were the first GSM operator in Nigeria in 2001. As he states, he made the first GSM call in Nigeria as Econet in Nigeria in 2001. Along came other operators who somehow outmaneuvered them and got contracts signed, got all sorts of licenses signed, and he's blaming all that on alleged bribery, because we don't have proof from the other side. On alleged bribery, that's forced them, he says, to leave the market. For me, that sounds again like somebody who, the mentality seems to transfer from the one in Zimbabwe where he says POTRAZ is forcing them out of the market. In this case, he's saying other parties. Why is it always external people forcing Econet out of the market? Isn't there some portion of the blame that they must accept in terms of not having enough clients?
Well, look, as a fan of this man and everything he's achieved, he's certainly become the beacon of the anti-corruption, I don't want to call it agenda, but certainly the anti-corruption lobby that's becoming really popular on the continent. And I mean, later on in his blog, he quotes scripture, and he basically speaks on his faith and the fact that due to his integrity and his team's integrity, he would not be willing to make decisions that would profit him in the long term at the expense of his conscience. There's no way to prove this one way or another. He does claim, however, that he's taken up these claims with people who might be able to look into them.
Yeah, and he also states that in 2003, and the story is to be continued, he wrote to the United States Department of Justice, which I don't understand why he had to include them.
That's kind of like when you were a kid, right? And you and your brother had a fight, and then like he got to
and you tell mom,
and you're like, I'm going, I don't know. Listen, it does make for good reading, I have to say, and if it's a true story, it is an inspiring one, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, bribing, let's be clear, bribing, if it is true in this case, is wrong. I mean, that's not the way you do business. It's unsustainable anyway. But I just have a problem with the mentality where this is the second story this week where he's blaming external parties for the failure or the lack of success of Econet lately on everybody else but Econet.
Well, to be fair to this particular story, firstly, it's part one, and I think he's I don't know where he's taking this with his story. He certainly has us hooked. We were all waiting for the next episode. I don't know what point he is making. I do imagine that he might be leading us to a conclusion that suggests that you don't have to do these things in order to succeed. I don't know. Maybe.
But from what I conclude from both these stories on Econet, they're not in a good space at the moment.
I know you well enough, my friend. Therefore doesn't like whiners.
Nah, I don't.
Okay, well, here's to hoping part two kind of sets it straight, because I'm rooting for this story to end well. Now to South Africa, where telecoms giant Telkom is being criticized for yet another mumish ish. This time it's being alleged that the Telkom website is exposing customer personal details, including ID numbers, contact details, marital status, home address, what you had for breakfast. Oh my word.
Yeah, I mean, my broadband, to give them credit, found this error whilst they were doing investigations and research, and found that when you are ordering online a new Telkom product, any Telkom product, and it brought up a form for you to fill in your details, it would bring up somebody else's details.
Okay, so you don't even need to hack this company for them to give up personal information of their customers. Hackers are probably going,
Like, Telkom, you're taking our job.
You're taking our job, man. Taking our job. Anyway, listen, I feel a little sorry for Telkom because, I mean, like many parastatals in the country, they are often rightfully criticized for not being run very well. But, again, stories like this just don't help.
Nah, this is embarrassing. I mean, it speaks to many things. Where's the quality and assurance in developing the software solutions? Where's the piloting? Where's the testing? Where's all those levels of checks and balances in before they go live with software solutions?
They can't even get a little JavaScript right. What else are they getting wrong, I guess?
Yeah, we'll see. And remember, this is not the first time. I mean, we had another issue with Telkom using a man-in-the-middle attack to show you your data usage on the ADSL product.
They probably didn't even know they were doing something wrong then either. Shucks, poor guys.
Well, that means then it talks to the level of people they're hiring in very key positions.
Shame. Anyway, look, now for some consumer tech-focused tidbits to end our news segment. BitX launched its Bitcoin wallet this week. How excited are you? Therefore, happy?
Still, I don't think it's mainstream yet as a currency. So until micropayments are sorted out, so until I can spend 10 rands or $1 or 10 US cents on items, I still think it's not there yet. Because I mean, Bitcoin, what is it now? Its value is around about 3,000 rands approximately, somewhere there.
Well, they're calling their wallet not just another Bitcoin wallet. Listen, if you're using it out there, if you're a client of this service, please let us know how it's working and if it's adding any sort of ease to your regular purchases online. I would love to know about it. By the way, the first iteration's only available for Android users. The iOS version has been promised to follow soon. For our second consumer-focused tidbit, MTN Zambia has launched what they're calling Southern Africa's first ever WhatsApp-based customer service in the telecom industry.
This is like me grabbing media headlines. I mean, are they really the first ever WhatsApp-based customer service? I guess in the telecoms industry, but I don't think it's even a headline, something to write home about.
Look, I mean, Standard Bank launched in South Africa that virtual banking situation using WeChat, and they called that the first in the banking industry. What I'm not so sure about is why so many companies keep saying that this move makes their support centers faster. I mean, just because you've got instant messaging doesn't necessarily mean that people who use it get instant responses.
Even better, you might get instant response acknowledging your message, but the issue here is you want instant resolution.
Our friends out in Zambia, please let us know whether or not this is in fact an innovation that should be celebrated. And if it is, listen, let us know. Let us know if it's something that we should demand from our local mobile operators here in South Africa, for example. Our third and final tidbit would be Barclays Kenya starting to offer customers free Wi-Fi in select Nairobi branches.
That's all good, but I'm trying to see from a user experience point of view how this works. I go to the bank to get free Wi-Fi.
Something you actually want to avoid doing in the first place, I guess, going to a branch. Anyway, carry on.
It would make better sense to give me free Wi-Fi or free internet at home so that I can do my banking.
Kenyans, how excited are you to be sitting in the bank with with free Wi-Fi?
And doing your banking.
Perhaps maybe going to the bank is still a thing, in Kenya. Let us know. Therefore, intro our discussion for the week.
Yes, I mean, I was at Tech4Africa, one of the largest tech conferences across the continent, and a very important, I thought, keynote address by Nick Harambulo, so popularly known as Nick Harry, of Nick Harry Style, who initially started selling designer socks for men and now does pocket squares and all sorts of accessories for men. But the talk wasn't more around style, it was more about being a startup founder and the journey and some of the things he's learned along the way. And the opening comment was quite hard-hitting and something that resonates, and I think not many people realize. And he said that, I believe everyone who starts a business is a bit broken. Do you agree?
I don't know about broken. I do think maybe quirky, unusual, strange. Broken implies some hectic emotional issues, bruh.
But okay, let's think about it. You're going out there leaving comfort, as some people call it, where you could get a job, paycheck every 25 days and etc. And you saying, I'm going out there and I'm going to start the first 6 months was zero, and I'm gonna change the world because I believe this idea I've got is gonna make a huge impact on the world, blah blah blah. And all you have is a team of one, which is yourself, and you still have to convince people. That sounds a bit broken to me.
Look, I've heard people go as far. I think it was Mark Cuban. I watched an interview with him where he literally compared the startup mentality being a serial killer, like that outside of the norm. So I've heard this extreme view. I can accept though that entrepreneurs, being one, startup founders especially, tend to not see the world the way other people do, and to that extent perhaps they've got broken brains or perhaps just wired differently, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps the correct term, as you say, is wired differently.
Well, Nick certainly thinks so. So what else did he say in his talk?
Yeah, I mean, the other important theme that came out was that everything is difficult, especially in starting up, in tech startups as well. I mean, actually software development or technology in general, doing that's easy. That's the easy part. Building a business is hard. Succeeding is hard, definitely. Selling a company is even harder. That was one of the main themes. But he added that even though everything is more difficult, he loves his life more, unlike when he was employed, because he's doing something he loves.
A YouTube video I watched actually sort of brought that home this week, where a person was speaking about how all the technology we have at our disposal gives us the impression that things are easy. YouTube is free, so creating a business around a YouTube channel should be easy. No, it's not. It's a lot harder. Being able to sort of record yourself on a smartphone and share it on a social media platform is easy. One might argue, but turning that into a successful community or network, information network, is really hard. And I think that's the danger a lot of people fall into when they buy into this romantic notion of being a startup. The idea that we've got all these tools at our disposal that can make things happen really quickly and really easier than ever before.
Definitely. I mean, it's very difficult. And I think that follows on to the next point that he mentioned, which is something I fully agree with. And that is grit. Grit is what matters in a startup founder. He said that that's something he values as well, most in business or in people doing business, and that you need to be resilient enough to push through, because as you just elaborated, it is tough. It's not as easy as most people romanticize it to be.
Yeah, you could visit his site and see all the socks he has on sale and think, how hard could it possibly be to build a successful business around socks? I mean, just make a couple of socks, create some styles, hire some designers, make something cool, pop it on the internet, and it should blow up. And clearly there's a lot more to it than that.
No, definitely. I mean, he put up a slide of the roles he plays within his business. It's only 2.5 years old. I mean, he plays the role of being the SEO optimizer guy. He plays the role of the tech guy, the CTO. He's the finance guy. It's like a full page of roles he plays, and that's something that most startup founders can relate to, because in the early days, even at 2.5 years old, with or without funding, you still play a lot of roles because you're still trying to figure out a business model or an identity for your business.
I know this is something you told me he said or talked about, this idea of traction, how to define traction. And we've had these debates in the past regarding startups and how to define whether a startup's actually succeeding or not. And he's got a very simple definition for what traction is in his case.
Yeah, simple. Traction equals sales.
So in his mind, he's gaining traction if he's selling more socks today than he did the day before.
Definitely, and that makes sense. And I think if you focus on that, we've discussed this before in the podcast, if you focus on that as a startup and that's the mentality you carry into the startups, it will ease some of the burden.
It's such a great business to sort of analyze the whole startup mindset with, because again, in some maybe more developed startup communities or ecosystems, traction might be defined by how many people thought my socks were cool, and not necessarily how many people actually bought them.
Yeah, there's only one Silicon Valley, dude.
All right, so round us off with one or two more.
Yeah, the last one is focus, which is another very important skill that a startup founder needs to have. You see too many guys having too many things going at once, even within one startup where they're doing 200 things, especially early on. If you look at Nick Harry or Nick Haramboulos' journey from Nick Socks to Nick Harry style, he started only doing socks before doing pocket, until he figured some sort of business model out of that. Then he moved to what you'd call adjacent product.
Vertical integration.
So style pocket squares complement your style with your stocks, etc. So you'd start with one focus, one thing that you do, and then move out of that.
He didn't go start a restaurant or something.
No, he didn't want to conquer the whole male style and accessory world. That's too big a pie.
As an entrepreneur and as a startup founder, this is probably one of my weaknesses because I have so many interests inclined in so many directions. It often takes quite a lot of discipline for me to rein myself in. And these conferences can be quite worth the time and the resources you put into going into them. And you certainly seem to have benefited.
Oh no, I benefited, and I thought more people would benefit if you just summarized what he spoke about. And lastly, he talked about how mentors are imperative, that you need people to guide you, but you need the right people for the right role. So you might need a finance manager type person who can mentor you in the finance side, etc. And he says they're hard to come by, which is true, and he never had one.
Oh, okay. So he'd be an outlier, an anomaly to the to the system.
Well, his father used to have a cafe, the whole Greek culture, which he alluded to in his presentation, where most Greeks had shops in South Africa, etc. His father had a shop, so I guess indirectly, without realizing it, his father was his mentor.
He certainly did have a mentor. Listen, we'd love to hear from you. Were you at Tech4Africa? Is there anything you picked up from there that we haven't covered? Did you attend this talk and perhaps benefit from anything that Nick Harry had to say and you'd like to share it with us? Please do. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a shout on Facebook at facebook.com/African Tech Roundup, or hit us up on Twitter using the handle @African Roundup using the hashtag ATRU.
Once again, we're happy to remind you of all the cool things the team here at the African Tech Roundup will be up to in the next few weeks and months that you can look forward to having us share with you. I myself will be speaking and facilitating a discussion at the Thabo Mbeki African Leadership Institute's Alumni Leadership Conference on the 16th and 17th of October. Our content producer, Peter Peel, is flying out all the way to Dubai for GTEC's Technology Week next week, and he'll be bringing us extensive coverage live and direct from Dubai and the Emirates.
Now, I'll be speaking at the US Embassy in Harare's Food for Thought series on Tuesday, November 10th, and our technical producer, Brian Lupia, aka Music Kid, will be hosting a night with Music Kid, the John Legend edition, at Trump's Grill House on Nelson Mandela Square on the evening of Saturday, 28th of November. And of course, a brand new season of the African Tech Conversations series will be out first Wednesday in November. All you have to do is keep it locked right here, or even better, subscribe on africantechroundup.com so you don't miss a thing. Otherwise, that's it for now. I'm away again next week, would you believe? But therefore, we'll be here with another awesome guest to stand in for me, which is good news. So until next week, it's cheers from me, Andile Masugu, and
Therefore, Mohapi.
Take it easy, everybody.
Cheers, guys.